Is sponsored by Gillette, the best a man can get.
Back here, first things first, we're joined by Coach Mangini.
Mangini?
Mangini?
Whatever the name is.
Whatever your friends call you.
Like 150 shows.
I know.
Coach, I know you were listening to that Pittsburgh segment.
Yes.
I'm sure.
Go ahead. Speak on it. Coach, speak on it. That's your guy. That's your guy.
I don't know. We're not figuring that.
Okay.
We'll say that.
We'll wait.
We'll get to it.
We got so much to talk about.
Coach Mangini, like sand through the hourglass, Ezekiel Elliott is still in Cabo, still waiting to get a deal done, still working out, reportedly with Marshall Faulk. With the NFL season kicking off in just over a week, many wondering if Zeke would be ready to go if he signed just before the start of this season. As expected, the situation a big topic in the Cowboys locker room. Here's head coach Jason Garrett.
Zeke's been a really good player for us. We love him as a guy. We love him as a player. We want to get him back in here. Right now, we're going with the guys we have. When Zeke gets back here, we'll get him integrated as quickly as we can. He'll be a big part of our team.
Listen, we're preparing for the season, and you know, we're going to play with what we got, and what we got is a damn good back in Tony Pollard. So, you know, obviously, you'd want him out here, but we're prepared to get ready for week 1.
So does that mean that sort of internally the Cowboys are mentally preparing themselves? It certainly sounds like they've got the pieces in place to start moving forward without Zeke for week 1.
Yeah, well, it also means that they've actually talked in the meeting rooms about how they're going to approach this situation with the media. And they've said, look, whenever we talk about Zeke, we're going to say we're moving on with the guys that we have, and we hope it gets resolved, and he's a great guy, and we love him. I mean, there's nothing else the players can say or Jason can say to keep the distractions to a minimum. In terms of impact, look, it's going to be substantially more challenging without him. He is unique. He changes the dynamic of things, and now it's going to be up to Dak to prove that he's worth what he's hoping to get paid. And when you look at his production over the 3 years, he's consistently been there. He's made good decisions. He hasn't lost games, which we talk about a lot. More games in the NFL are lost than won. It's just he's not winning a lot of games. He's not changing a lot of the people around him. I think he's had 23 touchdowns, is the most touchdowns he's thrown in 3 years. To put that in perspective, Tom Brady hasn't thrown only 23 touchdowns since 2003. So it's just a little bit different equation. All that being said, he has great traits. He has great intangibles. It seems like the guys believe in him, and that gives you the potential for growth. Do I think this team will be competitive? Yes, they'll absolutely be competitive in every game because of the way that they're structured, the things that they do defensively, and his approach. Do I think they'll be dynamic? No, not initially, and it's going to take some time for the new offensive coordinator to get his feet underneath him as well.
And the reason that, in a question about Ezekiel Elliott, you spent most of the time talking about Dak Prescott, rightfully so, is because these two guys are inextricably tied together. Not just because of the same draft class, they've been there, but because of Dak's, at the moment, very apparent deficiencies that Zeke has whatever leverage he has and has the import on this team that he does. I think the Cowboys' general philosophy that echoes the rest of the league, which is running back is becoming a fungible position and you don't want to pay a running back a ton of money, in general, I think is correct. And if Dak were the guy that a select few think he is, which is a force multiplier, which is better than Carson Wentz, a franchise quarterback already, then I'd let Zeke chill in Cabo. I'd let that contract offer stay exactly where it is and try to call his bluff. Say, how much time are you really going to miss? Are you really going to sit out not only one regular season game, but multiple regular season games? But because, to my eye, Dak has not appeared to be that guy since his rookie season, Zeke has real leverage. Zeke has real impact because the Cowboys should, week 1 against the Giants, beat them. Without Zeke, to me, that game's a coin flip. Without Zeke, to me, the Giants, we can say what we want about Eli, and I certainly had, but right now, Eli and Dak, there's not a great difference in what they are this moment as players. It's one player's on the way up, one player's clearly on the way down. Saquon would be the best offensive player either team has. All of a sudden, you start looking at that game and say, oh, Giants got a real shot. That's where Zeke's impact is. So are they a playoff team without him? To me, absolutely unequivocally not.
Well, I don't think they're a playoff team, but there's no way that the Dallas roster is equal to the Giants roster. Now, I know any given Sunday, anybody can win a game, but there is no owner that would trade the Giants roster for Dallas's roster, even without Ezekiel on the roster. Dallas has a strong defense. They got a great offensive line. What's the Giants' strong suit? Their running back with that offensive line?
The running back's the only thing.
We can stack the line of scrimmage, and Eli, 2 bad quarters, coach, they start calling for his head. So, no, they're not a playoff team.
Throws the call for his head.
But the assumption that, oh, we can move on without a special player. And, man, I've been watching these highlights of Tony Pollard, the running back and everything from Memphis, and I looked him up and everything. He wasn't the best running back on Memphis's team. They got a guy named Darrell Henderson, averaged over 8 yards in 3 years there. This guy was a backup too. So Pollard was not a better runner. He wasn't a better pass receiver. Then Henderson was drafted in the 3rd round by the L.A. Rams, so he might have a shot to play there. So us thinking that some guy in the 4th round is getting ready to shock the world, we have seen it in the NFL, but I don't think it's the case. The only reason why we're talking about it is because Zeke is in Cabo. This is not a guy that he couldn't carry his university, let alone carry the Dallas Cowboys. No, that's not the type of pressure you want to put young players under. It's important that they sign Zeke. And I thought the example that you made as far as the Tom Brady, the 23 touchdowns, in the era where it's so easy to be able to throw the ball, where they struggle in the red zone, plus 20, where they struggle, it's an indictment of who is the better player in this. Zeke has no weakness. They have Super Bowl aspirations if Zeke is there.
You could just see, though, how both sides have all this leverage. Zeke knows who this team is without him, and Jerry Jones is Jerry Jones. You wonder who's going to flinch first, but you could see maybe this going a little longer than we originally thought.
Well, when you watch the last preseason game against Houston, that came out, and he put together a pretty good drive. And the touchdown that he threw, he moved around the pocket. He allowed the receiver to uncover, threw a nice ball. They scored. Then Dallas forced a fumble. Then they came back, and they sacked. They forced another fumble on a sack, and then they blocked a punt. There were a lot of good things from Dallas that were completely outside of the running game. And that, to me, is what gives them hope as they go through the season and makes them a potential playoff team. And in terms of how much money, like underpaying running backs, we're not talking about them making him the 20th highest paid running back.
No.
There's some discussion over whether he should be the highest paid running back.
Or the second.
And at some point, you gotta find a middle ground. You've got to find some place where you say, look, I've only been in the league X amount of years. I've got 2 more years left on my contract, and I've also had some issues. There's going to be a little bit of give and take here.
Zeke's clearly trying to have it, pardon me, trying to have it all ways. He's trying to get paid early and get paid like he hit free agency. Usually you set them...
And get paid like a guy that hasn't had any
off
off
the
field. No. There's no doubt about it. Zeke is trying to say, it's like I'm a free agent with a perfect track record as opposed to a guy with 2 years left on his contract who has a spotty track record, which is why this, to Jenna's point, is taking as long as it has, because he thinks the Cowboys are going to blink. We'll find out in the next 10 days or so.
Don't back that owner up into a corner. Don't back that owner up in a corner, because it won't end good for you.
All right, Coach, stick around. Coming up, Gronk explains the Patriot way. You probably have something to say about that. Next on First Things First.